A new three-part docuseries has been produced by TV Ontario called Great Lakes Untamed, and a Thunder Bay cinematographer played a big part in it, as a large portion of the series focuses on Lake Superior. Avery McRae has the story.
This is the story of the largest watershed on the planet.
Never before has there been a production about the Great Lakes quite like this. The three-part series, with each episode an hour in length, will share stories and tales from the 5 Great Lakes, with around 30% of the series to be focused on the grandest of the 5 bodies of water, Lake Superior. Local director Damien Gilbert, who provided much of the footage from the North Shores of Superior for the doc, has spent over 15 years in the industry and says this one hits close to home, and he feels anyone in the city will be able to relate to what they are viewing.
It's the greatest lake in the world, and they might, recognize some of the locations that are featured in this docuseries.
Gilbert said while shooting the series, which is 3 years in the making, he was able to experience many amazing sights the average person doesn't have access to, like being in the base of Wilmette Canyon and a unique view of one of the most famous attractions in our region.
So one particular location was Kakabeka Falls, and I got a really unique perspective of it flying with the drone, which we got permission to do, was to kind of start and then kind of go down into the gorge. So when you're seeing it from the platforms, you're not getting it from that perspective, and you might not even recognize it at first.
There was also some interesting discoveries made during shooting, none more so than these rocks that originate from Marathon known as Uperlites, which glow a fiery orange when shined with a UV light.
Given GPS coordinates and try to find these things in the pitch dark and then shining lights and not finding anything, and all of a sudden this rock kind of started glowing, and it's like, wow, what is this?
The docuseries aired this past week on TVO, and all 3 episodes are now available to stream on TVO and YouTube. Avery McRae, TBT News.
A group opposed to a proposal to dispose of nuclear waste deep underground here in northwestern Ontario held a protest walk earlier this month. More than 50 people, including members of Nuclear Free Thunder Bay and like-minded community members, walked from federal MP Patty Hajdu's office to the office of provincial MPP Lise Lajoie. They're concerned about the possibility of storing nuclear waste in this region. The Nuclear Waste Management Organization will choose between 2 potential sites for an underground repository. One is near Nignace, and the other is in southern Ontario. Rally organizers Dottie Lagazik and Charles Foss say there are just too many unknown consequences. They also don't believe that NWMO is being transparent about the process.
We have a major concern with the siting process that they've undertaken, which is, as I said, not a legislative or regulatory requirement. It's a public relations exercise where they are looking for an impoverished community like Ignace to accept them as a willing host for this project.
This was one of a number of walks taking place in September across the Northwest. Canada has no laws prohibiting drag queens and kings, yet Dryden OPP questioned a local pride organizer at her workplace earlier this month. The officer was investigating what she says was not a serious complaint, but rather a homophobic attempt to shut down a drag storytime event scheduled for September 18th.
We are, approaching this as a hate crime, and we are going to be taking action.
Catherine Keaveney, chair of Rainbow Alliance Dryden, says in addition to being questioned at her office, she received calls from multiple venues about homophobic complaints they received about upcoming drag events, particularly the one at the Dryden Library, which featured performers who regularly hold storytime events at the library in Thunder Bay. Keaveney says she is disappointed by the police response and feels the OPP let a bigoted person waste police time and resources.
It just felt like we had done something wrong, instead of this person who was calling because they were like, I'm not down with the queer community, or exposing children to human beings who want to read children's stories to them, all up in makeup and wigs.
A Dryden OPP spokesperson said they could not yet comment on the issue. The drag event went ahead as scheduled, with Keaveney emphasizing that their events are family-friendly. Time now for another short break. When we come back, we've got a story about the Wake the Giant Music Festival.